Hi, this is Lawrence Klemecki at Funnel Profit. Today I'm going to talk about how we integrate and automate your social media channels into your sales lead funnel process. And this is very important because you need to convert your social media investment into qualified sales leads to generate ROI as a small and mid-sized business. If you don't do that, then your social media investment is really just window dressing for your business. So let's learn how we can turn those social media leads into real sales leads and how to track them and automate this process. So there's a number of social media challenges presented to small and mid-sized businesses, but I want to key on three main ones. The first challenge is that social media is time-consuming. It takes time and expertise to create social media content, to share that content, and interact with other people on social media platforms. And that time is money. So this is really should be viewed as an investment in your business, both from a brand standpoint, but more importantly, from a sales generation standpoint, which is ultimately the purpose for which you're doing this. The second major challenge is that social lead paths are nonlinear and hard to track. What that means is when somebody engages with you in the social media channels, such as Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, how do they go through that path? Okay, there are a lot of loops and back and forths in social media that are nonlinear. That makes them hard to track. Now, most social media platforms have some form of analytics, but they're sort of brute force analytics, like clicks and engagement rates and things like that, which differ actually across different social media channels and platforms. That doesn't necessarily help you, right? So, for example, where did that sales lead come from? What posts did she engage with before she became a sales lead? What triggered her to contact us? Did she actually come from our social media channels? Did she come from word of mouth? And in fact, if she did come from, let's say, Twitter, did we respond to her? How did we respond? Who responded to her? How long did that take between our response and her making another contact? Did we engage with her once or twice or 3 times or 5 times? Those sorts of actions and those sorts of metrics are hard to track and nonlinear in social media platforms. And then the third major challenge is that the ROI from social media activity is really hard to prove. And calculating conversion rates and ROI is a lot easier down the funnel. Okay, and by down the funnel, I mean once somebody arrives in your marketing automation platforms, such as Infusionsoft or HubSpot, where you've got campaigns set up and you can calculate conversion rates for freebies and upsells and those sorts of things, or they've moved into your sales process, your standard sales process, and your salespeople are calculating whether somebody is a newly identified lead, whether they're engaging them to qualify them, whether they're negotiating, and you can calculate the close rates for new leads coming into your sales process. When those leads come from social media, the ROI is much harder to prove. And this is caused by a gap, a technical gap, but also a conceptual gap between social media and marketing platforms. I'm going to dig into how we go about solving that problem and these 3 problems and filling that gap. So our solution process really is 3 steps. Okay, the first thing we do is we evaluate where you stand now with your social media channels. What channels are you in? Is it Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram? You're using YouTube or other video channels like Periscope. And then is your content, when that includes not just your posts, but also your the next step in the process, that could be your website, or it could even be a salesperson, is that mobile ready? Because over 50% of time spent on the internet now is spent on mobile devices, and for some demographics, that time is actually 60 to 7%. So the approach using desktop, making the assumption that somebody's going to engage with you from social media into a desktop environment. For example, somebody is going to respond from Twitter and then go put their email into a newsletter sign-up form. is somewhat of a spurious assumption. Those behaviors don't always mix. So we need to make sure that your processes are mobile ready, because that's where you're going to get a lot of social media leads. The next thing is we look at your content mix. How much of this is actually pitching your product or service versus sharing others' content versus engaging other nodes in the potential network that can help you generate leads, versus creating and distributing inspirational, educational content. You need to have a certain content mix which is engaging and does not overwhelming from a just pure sales standpoint. And then we take a look at how engaging your content actually is. Are people sharing it, clicking on it, mentioning it? And then finally, we look at your calls to action. Do you have them? Is your content actionable? How many? What types of actions are you expecting? Is that congruent with the next step in the process to generate a sales lead? The next step we do is we actually work with you to set goals. Okay, whom are you going to target, and on what channels? What actions are you going to take as a social media participant, and what actions are you going to expect your potential leads to take, to get downstream in your lead funnel? What frequency are you going to engage with them, and what frequency do you expect them to engage with you? Okay, and that goes for campaigns and posts and prospects and followers, and the things that your team does. What are the sales steps that you expect to lead people in from social media channels? And do those incorporate or do they automate the social media lead source? Okay, so it doesn't make any sense for folks who are negotiating contracts down at the bottom of your funnel with highly qualified leads about to buy. Also, engaging people up in the social media space who are yet to be qualified to even become a lead. So what are your sales steps, and how does that integrate with your social media channels? How long would you expect to engage with somebody on social media before they come a lead? And how long between steps in that process would you expect? And then what kind of conversion rates can you expect, or do you expect from the different steps in the process? And then naturally, what is your cost per lead? And oftentimes that's just simply the number of leads divided by the total cost of managing your social media platforms by channel. The next major step we take in the process is to build out and automate your funnel so that it incorporates the social media platforms and channels where you're participating into your lead generation process. Those social media platforms, most of them contain tools to allow you to do some of this. For example, Twitter cards, but they may or may not be the best option to use at any given point. Folks may not behave that way on that social media channel or that platform. This may put them off, or so we need to look at how you get folks into the next step of your sales process so they become qualified leads, and what tools you use to do that. Now, there are third-party applications out there that we use and that are popular. There are also there's a lot of innovation in this area with new apps coming out a lot these days. And we have experience in which ones are working and which ones are yet to be proven, and we do experimentation on some of the new ones to make sure that we're not missing anything. So we bring that level of new technology into the process, so that we optimize not just the automation but the targeting that you can get out of social media channels. We then integrate your website funnel. For example, if you're leading people to a web page or a blog post or some sort of freebie or a telephone number or an SMS or any other mechanism for reaching out to that customer and engaging them as a salesperson, is your website helping that? And is the next step in that process where it resides on the website, is that congruent with the social media platform that you're getting that lead from? Okay. If it's from Twitter, they may not want to launch into a long 1,000-word blog post. They may just be expecting micro steps. Okay. Even downstream farther than that, we look at your sales funnel and make sure that if there's a piece that's missing from the sales funnel, for example, a tagged channel where that lead came from, and then steps to engage that lead coming from social media, we implement those and make sure that your sales folks understand how to engage those leads and when to engage those leads. Okay, we do the technical integration and automation of the whole process so that you actually have an automated funnel that results out, and we implement the analytics so that you can calculate the ROI automatically in the process. So how do we go about connecting the social media funnel to your sales lead generation funnel, making it one large funnel? Well, first thing we do, as I discussed previously, is we look at your social media content and make sure that's action-oriented. The second thing we do is we help our clients implement social media automation so that you're becoming much more efficient and increasing the reach of your social media posts and how you're going about doing that so that you're generating a lot more leads for the amount of investment and time that you're putting into social media. We then implement connectivity using widgets, apps, and APIs, where it actually captures and imports the leads that you get from social media channels into your sales and marketing automation platform so that this process becomes seamless and automated, and those leads are tagged and identified from where they come from and what stage they're in. And this is really a technical exercise, but it's also a strategic exercise from understanding the process and ensuring that we're implementing and testing the right steps. We then take a look and make sure that your marketing sales automation, for example, Infusionsoft or HubSpot, is working the way it ought to with social media generated leads. And we take those social media leads and we engage them or move them into the standard sales processes you have. And then overall, we track everything and calculate ROI automatically by using links and tags and analytics to do this, so that you can understand what your investment is creating from a social media to sales standpoint. So what kind of results do we typically see? I always think in terms of return on investment, but there are other results as well. And let's just dig in a little bit. So first of all, we normally see that your qualified leads increase significantly. And that's because generally most small, mid-sized businesses are not using social media properly and don't have this automation and this integration in place so that they're actually generating qualified sales leads out of their social media channels. Once we implement these things, the lead capture process becomes embedded in your social media channels. That doesn't mean you're just turning your social media into a pure sales channel and just putting out sales offers or product service descriptions all the time. What it means is that when you create content and you put it in social media and you have expected calls to action, expected engagement rates, and expected next steps that you want people to take. So that becomes systemized or a part of your daily social media process to do things correctly so that you're naturally getting qualified sales leads out of it. And as a result, you tend to see your leads increase significantly. Importantly, social media costs is then connected to your sales results. This closes the gap, the social lead gap that I mentioned before, and social engagement actually becomes tied to your sales. And people can look across the process and see where that lead came from and how we closed them and how long it took and how much it costs. And then finally, ROI is calculated accurately. Once the analytics are in place, you can track sales leads back to the specific social campaigns and posts. The ROI calculations themselves are automated with specific costs and specific revenues assigned to each step. So if it costs you $100 to create a good blog post, and you've put out 3 social media posts about it, each with an image, which summed up to $200 or $300 worth of work, you know that that effort has cost you $300. And those 2 steps, you know, the social media engagement plus the blog post on your website, you know what the cost of those are. So those automatically get calculated. They move into your ROI calculation automatically using the step-by-step analytics that we implement. So that's it. That's how we integrate and automate your social media channels with your sales lead generation process. Feel free to contact me. My name is Lawrence Klemecki, founder and CEO of Funnel Profit. My email is lk@funnelprofit.com. You can call me directly at 646-918-0690. I look forward to speaking. Thanks a lot.